Alrighty folks, this is Lurch from Ireland Gaming and welcome back to another episode of From the Depths. We're back playing with more engines and Ruger is back from the land of Fallout. Say hello, Ruger.
Hello.
So, he got his hands on these yesterday and spent, what, all night? What time did you go to bed at?
Like 7 AM or something like that.
Yeah. This is the joys of getting to play all the time.
More toys to play with.
Yeah, so he got very excited and built not one, not even 5, not even 10, but 14 engines. And he has graciously donated them for us to play with. So before we actually start looking at them, we're going to have a little chat about some of the things that he's discovered while playing with the new engines. So basically the whole concept is in the design that you can have, out of 3 major statistics, you can either have efficiency, high power, or low size. So you have those 3 attributes, and you can basically pick any 2. And after that, there's no way of making a small, powerful, efficient engine. So
yeah, despite my attempts, I haven't managed to break it yet. So yeah, it's kind of like the old triangle of power. It's where you want to place your little spot in between those 3 attributes. So yeah, you can have like a really powerful engine, but it's gonna suck down gas, something shocking.
Yeah, it's basically a fuel injector.
Really efficient engine, but it's gonna be huge. So you can't really do everything at once, which is cool. Much big change from the old engines.
Yeah, but it's nice to have like a trade-off system where design is actually an important aspect of the engine as a whole, because with the old system it didn't really matter what design. There was one good design, you built it as big as you needed it to be, and there were no implications. So
yeah, pretty much. And also the bigger you build it, the better it was, which wasn't.
Yeah, it was very limiting in, well, any sort of dynamic or design scope. You can't do anything other than make one big engine, and that is the best way to do it. Now we have loads of options, but it's not as complicated as you might think. There are only really 4 types of engine, and the balance scales between them, but overall you have a fuel injection, which is your high power engine. You have an engine that's efficient at low RPMs, which is your superchargers. You have high RPM engines, which are turbochargers, and you have hybrids, which are somewhere in between. And that's it. There are no other options.
Yeah, and it also appears that there is no reason to build large extendable engines anymore. It actually hurts you, really, because there's now a power for ramp-up time based on mass of the engine. And because the engine blocks are so cheap, well, currently anyway, there's no reason to have a massive engine.
I don't think the resource costs for these have been put in properly yet, but just looking at the engine blocks, this mass governs extra power needed to ramp up. This little engine's 1.4, and this next engine, if I can find the engine block, is, there you are, 2, based on the different sizes of the engine. Oh, sorry, I forgot to press the push to talk key. Yeah, so these, I vanished from the ether there for Ruger, sorry. So yeah, the mass governs extra power needed is an important little statistic, because it does actually hurt you for building bigger engines. It doesn't seem to be a terribly huge efficiency drop, but you know, it pays to be efficient. If you're aiming for efficiency, you might as well build efficient. So yeah, do you want to start taking a look at these engines now?
Yeah, so your first port of call is how much power do I need and how precious is my oil. So if you go to this very first engine here, we check the little sign on the front here. You'll see that 100% it's 256 power per fuel. So it's very efficient at the high end. So this would be excellent for like a little fighter jet or something that has a constant power load. It's going to keep this.
Yeah, and only needs a very small power draw.
Yeah, it's something that runs in jets that are always going to be firing, so there's always going to be a load on the power. So it's going to keep it in high RPM and keep it in that efficiency zone. But I added a little supercharger here at the top, so that also brings up its low end as well. So this, no matter what happens, this engine will always get over 200 power per fuel, which is very high.
Yeah, 200. Nice. If you're over 200, that's a fuel efficient engine. That's a very good number to aim for. And this engine is made up of 7 blocks. It is teeny tiny.
Yeah, if you wanna push that further, you can add a 4th turbo to the back and push the high end up to 350 power per fuel. But if you want,
which is really crazy high.
I left it like this because you can just tessellate loads of these together, and T sections are a lot easier to tessellate than crosses. So you can fit about 10 of these into a big huge block. And the nice thing is, if one of them gets destroyed, the whole engine doesn't shut down. It still runs until they're all destroyed.
So you've got that lovely redundancy.
Yes, that's what this new update's all about, is lots of little engines, not just one big one.
Which is actually going to allow us to do much more interesting things with design as a whole, because you don't need to dedicate a huge part of your hull to building a specific, big engine room.
Yeah.
You can have multiple engine rooms if you want, which is a really cool sort of feature.
So, if we move on to this next one here, like this is an example of how the power can ramp up really quickly on small engines. So this one here is 500, and it's not even barely 5 times the size. Now the payoff obviously is efficiency here, so we've dropped down to on average about 140 power per fuel, but that's still a lot of power out of a very small space.
Yeah, so this would be great for like a jet or something like that needs a little bit more power. Hell, you could even squeeze like a weak shield or something onto a jet using this engine.
Oh yeah, easily.
That will, this, as far as like power for space is concerned, making one of the old engines do 500 power in that size, is that even possible?
In 3x3 in that size, yes, you could get about 460.
It's close.
But not really the same. No, not for 2x4. No, I wouldn't.
It's
get the
Tesla weird shape as well.
Yeah. So
but it's cool.
Yeah, if we go on now, here's an example. We skip on to this one here. This one's called Mr. Efficient.
This is the Stack 700. You can have a look at this one yourself, but there's nothing terribly notable about it, so we're just going to move on to the next one.
Yeah, a lot of these are various iterations, and some of them are built just for aesthetics as well. They're not all designed to be.
You can see the silo in the background. It's called a silo, isn't it?
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, I love that one. It looks great.
It's 2 of these stuck together essentially.
Oh, okay. That's pretty simple.
So yeah, this is Mr. Efficient. Always 200 power per fuel, and in a nice compact area. So it's 800 power, and it's going to be running really efficiently. And it also looks really cool from the top end.
Yeah, it does. And the way that it's built, there's actually room. I know you don't run radiators or exhausts everywhere like I do, but there is actually room to route your exhausts around and get them out of the way if you really want to.
I left the exhausts off this one so you can see where all the bits are, but you could plug it all in. Like if you go,
pretty cool.
If you look inside the silo, it's all plugged up. It's just 2 of those, but they're all wired up. So yeah, the one beside it here is. Now another thing is this is a radial engine. I like to call them as. All 4 sides of the crankshaft are used, whereas the old style engines were more stack style, where they had.
Yeah, you put things on top of the crankshaft. Yeah, you weren't actually able to use the bottom of the crankshaft in the old ones.
Yeah, the crank lay on the ground, and then everything builds up, stacks on top of it. But now we have radial engines, which changes everything basically, allows you to tessellate much easier.
Yeah, because this in this particular engine, the engine block is actually on the ground facing upwards. It's not like there's the connecting face there, and it faces upwards, and the crank goes vertically, so it's cool.
Yeah, so the one beside here it's 1000 power and also 200 all the time. Not as compact as Mr. Efficient, but it looks kind of cool. It's all got piped up and stuff. It's a stack version of the Mr. Efficient's radial.
I really like this one. Actually, it looks really, really engine-y. I like engine-y engines.
It definitely looks like a proper engine. That's what I love about this update, is all the engines look like engines now. It's really cool.
Yeah, they look absolutely brilliant. Props to the dev team for that.
Yeah, absolutely. This one on the end, it's sort of a field science experiment. This is an attempt at doing a fuel-injected supercharged turbo engine, and it just ended up being crap at all of them. So, although it did look cool, so I left it there.
Yeah, you see, like we were saying, this is the trade-off. You can have space efficient, you can have power efficient, or you can have high power, but you can't have all three.
Yeah, and mixing carbs and fuel injectors just doesn't work. I've tried and it just doesn't.
It just hurts your efficiency way more than it should, and you'll see in one of the engines coming up very shortly that you don't necessarily need a massive amount of space to get a lot of power out of your engine if you are clever with how you place it down.
And that is a good segue, because I'm just going to talk about this one, the cube here.
This is the red line.
This is the red line engine. Now this is a triumph of Tetris. This is carburetor sharing to its maximum. So the carburetors are boosted and shared between as many cylinders as they possibly can. Now this 5x5 box will produce 3200 power for a very, very reasonable 150 power per fuel. Now this is probably the direct center of that triangle of power between space, power and efficiency, and I can't beat this engine with any other design as of yet.
Yeah, you can make more efficient engines in that space, you can make more powerful engines in that place, but you cannot make one that does all of the things as well, you know, at the same time.
So this is the most compact, most power and most efficiency I can get all in one package, and this is the red line engine, because I like to think it's running the red lines in all of the attributes.
Yeah, so it's about 150 approximately across the board, which is a pretty efficient engine. I mean, I would gauge that like 100 is about average, and then 150 is good, 200 is extremely good, and anything under about 90 it's really going to hurt your fuel reserves.
Yeah, and also I will say this is probably the sort of largest you need to make a single engine. There is no purpose to go bigger than this, because you only lose out due to the mass of the engine, but you don't gain anything by going bigger, because you don't gain any more tessellation. Because, I mean, if you could expand in all three axes, then yes, you could tessellate forever, but you can't. You can only expand along a crank. So once you've maximized all of the sides of the cylinders and all the sides of the carburetors, there's no point going any further. You might as well just build a new engine.
Because if you were going to extend this like along the crankshaft, as you were saying, you would have to get rid of this radiator and put 2 crank blocks down. And straight away, that extra crank block it's going to cost you nearly as much as the engine block would have cost in the first place, and you're losing out on the benefit of redundancy, and it's costing you more fuel to ramp your engine up as well.
Yeah, it's only drawbacks. There's no benefits to making it bigger than this. Because you had two crank blocks at the same price as an engine block, so you'd need to even extend it. So you're already lost there, and you've lost power to ramp up. So that is, I would say anyway, I think this is the largest currently that you need to make an engine.
Yep. And the beauty about something like this is it's a lovely, dense little cube that you can prefab and just plonk 5 or 6 of them down.
Right, swiftly moving on. So this is another field science experiment.
This one looks amazing though.
It looks so cool. This is an attempt to make only inline exhaust turbos and supercharged and fuel injection, and it failed horribly. It's bad at everything, but it looks so cool though. It looks like
this might actually improve in the future, because I believe there's talk of making the inline turbos get a benefit based on how many exhaust gases are passing through, and I don't think that's actually implemented yet.
Oh, that could be a game changer.
Yeah, that might actually make this engine quite practical.
Oh wow, yes indeed.
So yeah, just maybe in the future this one will be good.
Alright,
But
anyway.
like Rigger says, this looks amazing.
Yeah, this is silo. It's just two Mr. Efficients glued together, just to
Yeah, with
have
some
a
nice little blocks, making it pretties.
And anyway,
Man, these hull block exhausts look great.
Come on to this. This is probably one of my favorite engines here. This is called the Giga Horse. This is 1,000 power in 3x3x4. And it's very compact.
It's tiny.
It looks like a big truck engine. It's cool.
It's so cool, yeah.
And it has very, very reasonable power per fuel as well. So I would
Look
say
at that Tetris.
it's excellent general purpose engine right here. This is a very good small ship engine or a large bomber engine or something like that. This has got a very good ability to bounce back from demands, and it will be efficient no matter what it's doing. So, and it's exactly 1,000 potential power in this one little box. So that's why it's called the Giga
so if
Horse.
you got something with a little bit more juice requirement rather than one of the teeny tiny engines, this is probably a good place to go.
Yeah, so I mean, if you need more power instead of adding to it, I would just like glue on a mule or a micro or something.
Yeah, just add an extra efficient little engine that can help out with the overall load.
That's the thing now. There's no point making your engine bigger anymore. You just add another one somewhere else to handle the extra load.
This is a good point, because I was messing about with one of my Let's Play ships, just trying to work out how to outfit retrofit a ship, and just to get a rough idea how it all works. And trying to get 5,000 power into the Rottweiler's hull was proving to be greatly difficult.
Yes.
But I was trying to build one big engine, and looking at this sort of stuff, I couldn't get more than about 150 efficiency. But if I used something like the red line here and put 3 or 4 of them in, I could have a really run it with maybe 15k power instead of the 3 or 4 that I eventually managed to get out of it. So it's much better to do something like that, and then I can use the extra space in the hull to put a couple of micros or a couple of mules in, just to give it a little bit extra poke.
Yeah, I mean, 3 red lines is 10k power. That's pretty good.
And it's not a big space requirement either. It's what, 5 by 5 by 15 for 3 of them.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah. So my goal for these engines was to try and not make engines for one specific task, but to make engines where you could add to get blocks of power. So, like, say I wanted 5k power, I would add 1 red line and 2 Giga Horses, and that would give me.
And that gets you right there.
Yeah, it gets me 5,200, which is pretty good. Or if any amount of power requirement, I can just add a different array of each engine here, and that'll add me up. And thankfully with these, I'll get decent efficiency as well. But I will segue on to extendable engines and why.
Yeah, engine blocks, the old-fashioned way of doing it.
Yeah, so if we come to this one here, I say you've got a massive battleship, you've got a ton of shields, and you are conscious about how much you're spending on oil. Now this here is an example of what you can do if you don't care about space. So
yeah, you've won a huge battleship, but you want to have an efficient huge battleship.
Yeah, so this one here will run at 243. Now if you're running your shields all the time, you're going to be wanting to max this out. So this one doesn't care about low load. So at low load is actually really bad, but at high load is really good. And every slice of this is 800 power. So if you need more, you just add another slice. But as we said earlier, there is no real point to doing this, because you just increase the power it takes to ramp up, and it doesn't help. But I would say once you get past maybe about 4 slices, that's when you should probably stop and just make another engine.
Yeah. Now, personally, if I would probably use something like this in certain circumstances where I wanted to have, like, if I was going to do specific configurations for different engines, I wanted one big workhorse engine, a big fast responsive engine that takes up all of the load as soon as it's available and runs like greased weasel shit the whole time, then I would use something like this and then build a couple of general purpose engines for other specific tasks with a slower responsiveness and faster decay, so that the load goes primarily to the main workhorse engine that's running all the time.
Yeah, if I had something that was going to be drawing power forever and didn't require ramp-up times, then yeah, this would be fine. But generally I would just use red lines instead, just a load of red lines.
It's more efficient, just flat out better. I mean, it's less power efficient obviously because, well, those big fellas have more efficiency, but then you would probably be better using a couple of segments of this instead, and then stop and make another couple of segments and stop and make another couple of segments. You know?
So this would be an example, like a cannon battleship that uses lots of shields, but you would not use this for lasers. Like, no way.
No.
The ramp up time would murder you. So for lasers you want red line, or this little fella over here. Now this is the most compact power for space you can possibly get. I've tried lots and lots of configurations, and we've both been
fiddling with this for a while
against the Tetris, and this can't be beat. This is one slice of 3x3x2 is 1600 power. That is insane for the size. But
yeah, it's about the maximum power density.
Now if we're going to go back, that's at the cost of efficiency. Now this is 68 power per fuel. That is awful.
Absolutely crap.
That will eat through all of your oil in no time flat. But if you don't care, then it's fine. You can just
I mean, that's a 10%. It's go over 100, which isn't completely rubbish, but it's not good either by any means.
Now I'm already hear people shouting, "Where's all the radiators?" Well, actually, radiators aren't that hot. Ironically.
No, they're not great in bigger engines. It just seems to be the case.
They're much of a muchness. They're not as space efficient as you might think. Now I would suggest, by all means, use a radiator because A, they look cool, and B, but only in situations where nothing else better can go. Now, for example, they can only go on crankshafts and cylinder sides. Never put it on the side of a cylinder because an exhaust pipe is always better. Because exhaust pipe costs no efficiency. It'll just drain a lot of heat.
It'll just keep, it drains heat, that's it.
Yeah. So, like, with this, a fuel injected engine like this here is going to run a lot of heat. Now, I found out that a nice happy medium is 2 injections with 2 exhausts.
Yep, we both tried to get 3 injectors with exhausts to work, and it becomes completely impractical, and you lose even more fuel efficiency because you have to use so many radiators just to cool the cylinders. It's impractical. It's just impractical.
I've found that 1 radiator is generally nice, because the radiators affect all of the cylinders in the engine. And I think, I might be wrong here, but I think it's a percentage removal of heat. So after 1 or 2 radiators, you're kind of getting diminishing returns on your heat. So I would only use radiators on engines where cylinders get higher than, say, 50% heat or something like that. So you get a nice bonus from the cool down per radiator. But you'll see in a lot of these engines, I have put like single radiators, and in some of the engines, like Mr. Efficient for example, the radiator actually hurts this engine, and I would advise it probably take it off because it doesn't run hot at all. But I left it on because it was cool. There's not many engines where a radiator actually does help. Now, for example, if you go to this one here, is the power tower. Now, this is basically this one here, just 3 slices, but extra exhausts. At this point, adding more than a 1 meter radiator hurts overall. It doesn't get you more power, it just loses efficiency. So, I guess this here is 5,000 power essentially, or
4,800, yeah, it's close enough.
In 1 very efficient column of power.
Well, not efficient, not fuel efficient, space efficient.
Space efficient, yes.
Yeah.
But ultimately, if you were going for compact power, this is the 3x3 column is the way to go. And this one here, I'd say probably still loses to the Redline engine, really.
Yeah, because I mean, what the Redline has 3200, and it doesn't take up that much more space comparatively. I mean, 3200 in that, or 5k in a slightly taller, slightly thinner. I mean, it's roughly the same blocks altogether.
Yeah, it's the addition of the exhaust that makes its actual profile very large. That kind of kills it. That's why it's slimmer little brother here wins on the compactness, but overall
it doesn't have the exhaust on the top. Yeah.
Yeah, overall I think Redline beats everything at the minute.
Yeah, this is probably the most efficient engine we've found so far. Well done, Ruger.
Yeah, well, it took a long time to get there. A lot of Tetris was done. A lot of Tetris was done.
Yeah, it hurts my brain a bit just looking at it.
Yeah, I'm used to doing Tetris. I mean, this was the Redline's older brother. It's still a very viable engine as well, but yeah, this is probably the best I've managed to get. A general all-purpose go-anywhere engine.
Yeah, you can just prefab and crap them down everywhere.
Yeah, that and the Gigahorse as well. It's very good. I would say out of all these, Mr. Efficient, Redline, obviously, and Gigahorse is probably the most applicable engines. And then less so maybe the Mule here for tight spaces and micro. But overall, yeah, that's the gist of the new engine update and our...
Yeah, everything that we've scienced so far, at least.
Yeah, so I hope it's helped.
Yeah, so we'll wrap the episode up here. We've waffled on for long enough. Ruger's going to put this platform up on the workshop so you guys can download it, and I will put a link in the video description for you. I really hope you enjoyed the video. Any likes, subs or comments are really awesome. I love hearing from you guys, and I read every single comment. Say goodbye, Ruger.
Bye-bye.
And I will say goodbye as well. Bye-bye. As always, take it handy, and have a bloody good day.